7, he happily just laid there in bed, just chilling to himself, just staring up at the ceiling and thinking about boob. But we think the main reason is, I think Dell's got some evidence that he's waking up when the white noise stops. We have a current setup in his room where we have two Googles playing, two Google Homes that we just used previously in different parts of the houses and will eventually replace, but we don't really need them right now. But they're perfect for playing a combination of white noise and some lullaby sounds. So we've got one set up playing white noise, which you just play as just some of the standard sounds that are accessible through Google, which works incredibly well, especially in combination with the lullabies, which you can also play through Spotify on the other Google Home. But one thing that we've realised is that as standard, the Google white noise has a time limit of 12 hours, which I guess in most circumstances, which would be more than enough, absolutely sufficient. But when you've got a baby that's likely going to be in bed for between 13 and 14 hours, sleeping for about 13, it's not sufficient. So yeah, it looks like if we start the white noise around 6 o'clock when his bedtime is, or when he's winding down for his bedtime, it's going off about 6 o'clock in the morning, and when it does cut off, it seems like that a shift to instant silence is startling him, because I must admit, when we played it in the bedroom, when he used to sleep in the bedroom with us only, like I said, earlier in the week or last week, it really does wake you up. It's crazy. The silence becomes almost deafening when you've slept with white noise all night. So yeah, I'm not surprised. That seems like it's waking him up. So that means that tonight we are asking Google to play it for longer. We think it might work. Dell's had a little look and it seems like it might. Or you can ask for it to stop at a certain time in the morning. But when I did that, it just started playing a Spotify song instead of a generic Google Home built-in sort of like sound. So, and I asked it to play until 3 o'clock in the morning earlier on, and it seemed to have stopped when it had gone through the song, so it's almost like it wasn't working. But we'll keep trying different things and get it to work and just keep going until the morning time, because I don't want to be getting up that early. For me, getting up that early around 6 o'clock is what I used to do for work and what I have done for many, many years, and it doesn't really agree with me. It makes me, I don't know why, but for me personally, if I have to get up before 7 o'clock in the morning, there seems to be this sort of switch that happens in my brain where I have to think maybe 7 o'clock, preferably even 8 o'clock. I'm a normal, functioning human being who's able to control every aspect of his temperament. Before 7 o'clock though, it's a different thing. I'm a barely functioning, just about alive, temperamental, anger driven, just ball of annoyance. Perhaps not as extreme as I'm making out, but yeah, not the same person, definitely not. I find myself getting annoyed with Rue. Obviously I wouldn't ever lash out or make it known, but it's in times where you would typically just sort of brush it off and you'd be fine with it and it wouldn't bother you. I find myself getting really irritated. It does dissipate later in the day, but it tends to be around midday, around 12 o'clock, so that's a 6-hour window where I'm just grumpy and very easily agitated. I used to have it all the time in work, if I'm totally honest. It was from the second I got up, once I'd come round, I would, especially if I'd even had to get up early or I'd had a bad night's sleep, I would be like a different person. I would be just a ball of frustration, annoyance and anger. My sarcasm level would was just extreme. I would be sarcastic, I would be grumpy, and typically I'm just sort of quite chilled out at work and get on with everybody and always happy to help. But in those scenarios, if I was in that sort of mood, no, I would be more than happy to say no and just basically, I would never say bugger off, but I would want to say just bugger off and leave me alone. Like even having like a nice cup of tea on a morning, 'cause I don't drink coffee on a morning, so a nice cup of tea, even that doesn't go any way to changing my temperament. It might help me wake up, but it really does not help improve my mood. So yeah, here's to hoping that Rue does not wake up that early in the morning and he sleeps until at least 7 ideally. If he's dropping off to sleep around 6:30, I believe that he should be able to do 13 hours, so he should be waking up around 7:30. He has done before, but yeah, let's just wait and see what happens on that one. But on a very, very positive note, the last few nights he's slept incredibly well in his own room. From being a little dude that would wake up more or less every hour in the night for the entire night, driving Dell absolutely crazy. He's now, first time we're putting down, we know that he can do 6 hours, he can go up till midnight. He did it last night, he did I think till 11:30 the night before. And then after that, last night he only required one more feed, so probably a feed around after about 3 hours I think it was, so around 3 o'clock in the morning. Then again slept right through until he woke up this morning at the early hours of 6:20 I believe. He's doing incredibly well. Literally all of this, from my perspective, is obviously any of his health issues that he's had, his allergies and his reflux, they're all medicated or being looked after and mediated basically, so those aren't causing him problems. His teething that he's going through at the minute doesn't seem to be bothering him too much at night, plus we do have some Anbesol gel which we were able to put on his teeth to calm the pain down every 3 hours, so more or less every time he's had a feed he gets a little bit of gel on those. But for us, most importantly, the thing that we have noticed when watching him on the camera is he self-soothes, he looks after himself. When he wakes up, he sort of lays there, because obviously they go through the sleep cycles, and he has a lighter period where he wakes up a little bit, and before he would panic and he would want you, and he'd want you there to comfort him, and he'd want boob to relax him to get back off to sleep. Whereas now we've essentially eliminated that crutch. He's able to just be like, okay, actually I'm okay, I need to go back to sleep. He'll just lay there, he'll stroke his hands, then he'll go back off to sleep. It's incredible to watch, and it's such a change from where he used to be just like as probably about 2 weeks ago when we first started trying to sleep train him. I know that there's obviously mixed feelings on sleep training, but the way we've done it has been incredibly attentive on him, and all we really have done is taught him the ability to self-soothe, and it's worked so well. He's an absolutely different baby. He is sleeping better through the night, which actually has resulted in him being happier through the day. He's still having his same nap time periods through the day, napping every hour and a half to 2 hours for about half an hour, maybe 40 minutes each time. But he's generally just that little bit happier. I think obviously coming out of his 4-month leap and his 4-month regression, yes, he's going to be going into his 5 months soon. I'm hoping that's not as bad as the 4 months, because that's supposed to be one of the big hitters. But just in general, the change that I've seen in him since he's just been sleeping better has been wonderful. It really has. And obviously there's a change in all of us. Adele's obviously only having to get up to feed him twice a night. I managed, well, obviously I don't have to get up and look after him, but I do still worry you become an incredibly light sleeper as a parent. Every little noise noise isn't disturbing me. Sometimes I'll even go into a bit of a deeper sleep where I didn't even really notice till I got up to feed him last night at one point. It's a whole shift. So yeah, that's great. But yes, we were up really early this morning, and it means that I had basically 2.5 hours before I needed to start work. I can obviously start earlier, but keeping the little man happy takes priority, and making sure that he stays awake and is happy long enough and then go down for his nap. Because realistically, I wanted to go down for his nap either at about 10 to 8 or 20 past 8, really depending on how we're doing it. But well, typically it didn't work out like it should have done this morning. I'm going to have a quick drink, 1 second. That's just a mixture of rum and lemonade. It's just what we had in. It's just a bit of something really. The rum's not very nice. It's the cheaper stuff. It's a bit artificially flavoured and oversweet, but it does the job. Anyway, so yeah, we got up, and I used to give him his medicine first thing in the morning as a omeprazole, but he really does not like taking it, and if you give it to him as soon as he gets up in the morning, it's basically that morning period ruined where normally you'd get up and you'd have a good maybe 20-30 minutes where he'd be happy, and then after that it's anyone's guess how it's going to be. So I've stopped giving him his medicine straight away, and I give it to him a bit later on. So we get up. Typically I'd make a cup of tea and go sit on the sofa with him and just pop a little bit of something on TV while I personally come round, and he's quite chill at that period, so it's really nice to just share that moment together. But having a cup of, it's going to sound sad, but I'm only really able to tolerate like 3 cups of tea a day before I build up a tolerance and it starts to make me tired instead. That's only due to me over-consuming caffeine for so many years as I was working night shifts. That's just how I found my balance. So I feel like if I have a cup of tea too early in the morning, I end up having like 4 cups of tea a day, and sometimes it's too much. I'm so delicate, but so I decided not to have a cup of tea this morning. So we went and just got sat on the sofa, popped the heating on, get sat on the sofa, let the dogs out. We were just chilling on the sofa, and then, as usual, happy, chilled out period of say 20 minutes passes. We've been watching that, what is it? It's on Amazon Prime. Upload it is, where the guy basically is in an accident. The main guy is in an accident. It's in the setting in near future, in 2030s I believe, theoretical near future, where you can upload your consciousness. If you're about to die, you can choose to upload your consciousness into like a digital world, called Upload I think it is, and yeah, it's quite an interesting concept, quite enjoyable. It's a comedy, so it's quite light-hearted, easy watching. Just have it on in the background really while I'm playing with Rue and looking after him, trying to avoid him having too much, apologies I've got itchy here, trying to avoid him having too much screen time. But I know that if it's there in the background and I'm there interacting with him, playing with him, it's not too big of a deal. But yes, I've been enjoying that, although I'm not 100% following the plot. I know there's some shady nonsense going about why the main character died and why he's in Upload, etc. But anyway, so Rue this morning quite quickly starts to get upset and unsettled. I put him in his bouncer, he enjoys it for so long, but then he starts to get actually visibly upset and starts almost crying, which is very, very unusual for him unless something's actually wrong. It wasn't quite his nap time yet. I think it had only really been an hour, and it wanted to at least make it to an hour and a half because he was going to have 4 naps today due to how early he was getting up. And I thought, right, okay, the best way to calm him down is to take him on a walk. He loves fresh air, he loves getting out. And normally I would strap him to my chest in the sling and in like the harness, so he can phase out. He's dangling there and he just loves it. He just looks around and enjoys it. But was up in the bedroom and Del was asleep. So I thought, right, okay, we've got a modular pram so you can take the attachments on and off. And you can, oh God, I hope you didn't hear that. I'm sorry if you can. There was a big loud ping noise on the desktop and I'm not sure if you could hear it. I'm going to close WhatsApp because I think it might have been from that. Sorry about that if it was extra loud, I really am. Anyways, so yeah, I decided to fit the stroller attachment to the pram and I thought I'll take him in that because he's sat up a little bit, he can face forward, he can look around a little bit, stay stimulated, keep him calm. The second I go to put him in his pram, he loses his mind. He starts crying, going crazy because he was not enjoying it, but I strapped him in there, got him all snugged up. He managed to wake Del up anyway, which was incredibly inconvenient, but I thought, right, let's just get out there, get going, get up the hill next to the house, bit of exercise for me, bit of fresh air for him. When he comes back he can have his nap. Second the fresh air hits his face, he's calm, he's like, oh, we're going on a walk. Because he sleeps in his pram and he doesn't like it for the first 5 minutes, but he's never liked going down for his nap really. You've got to fight him either way. So we've learned, just pop him in his pram, put the rocky on and he will drop off. He will drop off. But I think unfortunately he's developed a slight negative association with going in there, which I never want, we don't like, but it only normally affects him in the bassinet where he sleeps and we don't really use that anymore for going out and about. He likes to be sat up, he likes to be active, but he obviously got the bassinet confused with the stroller attachment. But the second that the cold air touched his face, he realised that he was going on a walk and he was happy, he was chilled out, he relaxed. He had his hat on, he had a blanket on, he was snug, he was cosy. And I just started walking up the hill, nice crisp morning, not even turned 8 o'clock yet, so it was nice just to get out, to get up the hill. I'm thinking, right, okay, it's too early for his nap now, he needs to, because sometimes we used to take him out in the pram to rock him off to sleep if he was absolutely desperate and fighting it to the nth degree, which he has done many times. So I'm walking up the hill and I'm getting about halfway up the hill. It's a 30-minute round trip to the top and back down home. And about halfway up, maybe 3/4, it starts dropping off and I'm thinking it's way too early. He can't be falling asleep, it's going to throw the whole day off because it's going to basically, from his last nap, he's then got to wake up and stay awake until bath and bedtime. So the earlier he sleeps now, the more it's going to extend that period of time in the afternoon and just mess up the day really, mess up that period of time, make him cranky. So I start trying to make little noises at him, trying to startle him awake and his eyes would go, and then he'd wake back up when I make a noise, then he'd like look around, then a minute later he'd start dropping back off again really relaxed. Get to the top of the hill, turn back round, he's still dropping off, I'm still doing it, thinking, right, just make it home. Once you're home you can have your nap because it'll be about nap time. About halfway back down, probably not even halfway, he dropped off one time, no noise was waking him up, literally nothing, cars driving past, me making noise, shaking the pram a little bit. He was gone to the world. I was like, fine, get him home, put him in the kitchen, let him sleep. Thinking, right, okay, I'll do hopefully a good 30-40 minutes. I'd already started timing it. He did 20 minutes. Woke up, absolutely fuming, of course, like he typically does from his nap, because he wakes up starving out of his mind. So he woke up, take him upstairs, he had some boob. It's obviously a bit early, Del's a little bit stewed because she'd woken up when he'd cried before, she'd fallen to sleep and she was mid-sleep cycle, so she was like a half out of it. But we just did the usual routine of I'll go make us a drink, cup of tea, cup of coffee, get Del a little bit of breakfast or something while she feeds through. And then it's more or less time to start work. I had a meeting at 9, so straight in on at a meeting. Did the meeting, then after that it was just some other work that I've got going on at the minute, some other project work that I've got going on, all the way through till I put it down for his next nap, I believe, about an hour and a half, 2 hours later. Pretty unremarkable stuff, the same old. wasn't available. The substitutes they'd selected were absolutely garbage. And yeah, the thing that wasn't available was the bread. At the minute, we're having to only very specific. Well, it was a replacement. We'd ordered a Jackson's loaf because it doesn't contain soya flour. Most breads, especially main brand breads, contain soya flour, and part of Del's diet to help treat Rue's potential allergies is not eating soya, because with Rue having CMPA, so cow's milk protein allergy, he's 50% susceptible to having a soya allergy as well. Comes in hand, I guess potentially due to similar protein shapes or something like that, so the body responding to it similarly. So we didn't realise that until probably a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or so. So we only really get a specific loaf called, it's by a bakery called Jackson's, based in Hull, which doesn't contain soya flour, and it's really nice bread actually, so we can't complain, but it seems to be notoriously difficult to get. I guess perhaps maybe they're a smaller bakery, so they don't produce as much, so it goes out of stock quicker, but Sainsbury's didn't have it, so they replaced it with a French baguette. But you can make sandwiches with a French baguette, but instead we used it to make garlic bread, because we were supposed to have ordered a garlic bread to go with the bolognese that we've been having the last 3 nights. But they didn't have the garlic baguettes that we ordered. They replaced it with a cheesy garlic bread pizza, which we can't eat because it's got dairy in it, and Dell's not eating dairy, so the baguette was used to make garlic bread. Just cut it in half, toast it in the oven, brush some like melted vegetable spread mixed with like some garlic powder and oregano and a little bit of dried parsley, and it tastes absolutely incredible, but it means that the baguette was already used up for making sandwiches, but luckily we bought bagels. So for lunch today we had bagels with I cooked some chicken a couple of nights ago. When we had the failed meal is when I'd cooked some plain chicken. We didn't want it that night, it seemed really unpleasant just plain, but I'd kept it, so I was able to chop it up today and mix it with some vegan garlic mayonnaise as like a sandwich topper. So we had a bagel with some cucumbers, some lettuce, some grilled chicken mixed with some garlic mayo, and then a packet of Walker's Prawn cocktail crisps on the side. And yeah, that was his lunch. It was alright. It was standard lunch. I am very much concerned that I'm eating too much wheat and carbohydrates at the minute. I tend to go through phases of indulging in bread, and then I feel like it must build up in my system or something, make me really feel bloated and uncomfortable, and I guess a bit more lethargic and stuff, and then I go for a bit of like a bread detox. But if I'm honest, there's very few choices in life that are better than just bread, like a sandwich or a pizza or something like that. So I've been allowing me that while we've had the difficulty obviously of raising a child, but there's going to be a point soon where I'm going to have to go back to eating better, say eggs for lunch or something like that. That's the problem, it's so difficult to know what to eat for lunch. You want something really quick and easy to prepare that doesn't make a big mess of your kitchen. So that's the beauty of a sandwich, I guess, isn't it? It's very easy to prepare, it's delicious to eat, it's filling, and it doesn't leave your kitchen in a state. Anyway, we would have had ham as well on a sandwich instead of the chicken, but the substituted ham that Sainsbury's provide is plain, really cheap, nasty stuff, always suffered with headaches, but these are worse than I've had in a long time. So just to rule out a potential cause, which could be the screens from sitting in here. I've got a 3-screen setup for work. It's essential for what I do, really. So to just try and mitigate that as a possible cause, that I'll go sit in the room with just my laptop, do some work in there. That's all I really need right now for what I'm doing. So I've sat in there quite a bit today, and luckily we've only had like kiddies cartoons on in the background, really simple stuff that gets stuck in your head though, like a song about apples and bananas, and then they change the vowels to E and oo, and apples and bananas, apples and bananas, ooples and bananas. We keep singing it, me and Adele just keep singing it to ourselves. It's stuck in there, it's properly wedged in there at the minute. But yeah, so there's like a good hour or so where I let Del go for a nap while I looked after Rue when he was particularly calm, so I was there working, looking after Rue. If he's in a really good mood, he can sit on my lap. If not, I can put him in his bouncer, or just have a little bit of a play with him for 5 minutes before going back to work, and then just put him down for his nap, and he sleeps for a good 40 minutes, so Del can easily have a 2-hour nap if she needs it. And I can't deny her that, because I had to go on my lunchtime and have a little nap, then to sleep off the migraine that I had. It's bizarre, but I feel like a nap, I always set my time if I'm going for a nap. I don't want to go into REM sleep. You want to go, because you've obviously got your stages of sleep. You don't really want to go over the 30-minute mark, because as soon as you go over the 30-minute mark, you risk going into REM sleep, and that's when you start your sleep cycles, and you don't want to wake up halfway through a sleep cycle. So you need to try and understand how long it takes for you to typically drop off, and then take 30 minutes and add on that time that it takes for you to drop off. For me, it's between 10 and 15 minutes to drop off, almost guaranteed, as long as I'm committed to the sleep. Lay there, fully covered with the duvets, only have my little face poking out, that's all. Super snug. And I'll drop off within 10-15 minutes. That gives me 30 minutes to sleep. Oftentimes, you don't know that you've been asleep, because this is the light sleep period. It's you're not in deep sleep. So sometimes you'll wake up thinking you've not slept, but time's passed really, really quickly, like that time's gone really quick. That's the type of sleep that you want. That's the type of sleep that will leave you feeling refreshed and re-energized, and in my case, it got rid of my headache for at least a couple of hours anyway. So that was great. That really, really helped and really worked and brought me back to life, and allowed me to continue through the day basically and finish work. And yeah, so I had Rue put him down for his final nap. The final nap was probably around 3:15, because he woke up around 4 o'clock-ish, and it was about an hour and 45 before his bedtime routine started at 5:45. Which is generic, usual nonsense there, through and through, playing with Rue. If he's ever really pissed off, the best thing to do is just strip him off to either his nappy or go full naked. He loves that. That cheers him up straight away. But luckily it didn't really get to that in the afternoon too much. I did a little bit, I believe, just at the very sort of tail end, just before his nap, just trying to drag it out a little bit and bring him back from the brink of an upset. But yeah, so tea time. I decided at around 3 o'clock I was going to try and make a garlic bread for tea, because we'd used the baguette up on the last 2 nights, and this was the 3rd night of bolognese. And I feel like, why, when you're having bolognese with pasta, why would you not want a second helping of carbohydrates in the form of garlic bread? Like, why would you not? So yeah, we'd eaten the baguette, so I needed to either just resign myself to not eating garlic bread for a 3rd night, or make one. And we have an uni pizza from the 12-inch one, the gas-powered one. It's absolutely incredible. We've used it a few times now to make pizzas with friends, and if I'm honest, I could not recommend it enough. Within 10 minutes sit for 30 minutes, and then you basically stretch the dough out a little bit to just sort of like align that gluten and mix the gluten in, then leave it to rise. So I did that. It worked reasonably well for creating like a nice tasting, decent risen dough. So by the time it came, like, it's not good quality as if you proper put some effort into kneading it and you let it to ferment overnight in the fridge and all that gubbins, but for like a very quick knocked up garlic bread when you're holding a baby in your arms at the same time, it was bloody lovely. So yeah, fired up the uni outside, 10-15 minutes warming up time while you're making the pasta and warming up the bolognese. I put a little bit of, so rolled out the dough. It made 3 pizza bases, so just did the first one, only put some melted vegetable spread in the centre, because if you put garlic in there, you might find it when you get it from takeaways and it tastes a little bit burnt, a little bit rancid. That's because they've cooked it with garlic butter that's got little bits of garlic in there that burns at the high heat required for cooking a pizza. So all I did was just put a little bit of fat on there just to make sure that the crust rises and the centre stays a little bit suppressed, so you get that nice pizza shape. And then afterwards, when it came out, as it's still hot, brush it with a mixture of vegetable spread, virgin olive oil, and then garlic powder, oregano, parsley, bit of salt, and it tastes absolutely incredible. The pizza soaks up all that butter still, or the garlic bread soaks up all that butter still. And so we had that with the bolognese. It was absolutely divine. This was all after we'd put Root to bed as well, so you can probably enjoy that with a nice glass of wine, a bottle of jam shed, red wine. I think they do different versions. I think this might have been the Malbec version, because I believe that's one of the sweeter ones. We are quite uncultured. So, I believe the camera's gone off. 1 second, I do apologise. Okay, I'm back. I actually cannot believe that the camera just stopped working on my phone. See, I'm using an Android Droid Cam app on my phone to record it, and it just decided to stop working. So you'll have been able to hear audio, but I was probably frozen there for a while, so apologies. But yeah, I was basically in the throes of picking up Jam Shed, the Malbec variant, which is absolutely divine. It is slightly on the sweeter side for a red wine, but it is so good. And then after that, just sat there, just chatting, me and Adele, and then after a bit we went up and watched a bit of TV, because obviously we're living such an exciting life. But what else can you do really as parents? Oh well, tidy the kitchen obviously like we did, and then go up and try and decide on some TV. We considered watching Marvellous Mrs. Maisel, which we're on the new season of at the minute, but instead we watched some Richard Osman's House of Games. It's an absolutely brilliant quiz show. It's in the 5th or 6th season now. There's a lot of episodes to catch up on. The camera keeps going, so yeah, it might be a little bit juddery perhaps when you see it. I'm going to go check up on that after this. I'm going to round this episode off, I think, quite pronto, just so I can have a little look at that. So yes, Richard Osman's House of Games, I would 100% recommend. That is an absolute brilliant quiz show on BBC iPlayer, and it runs Monday to Friday, so there's always 5 episodes for the contestants that are on there.